How you doing, everybody? It's Carpo here, and well, I've been working all day doing stuff around. I went to the rebuilding store and got stuff, and I've been getting things done. And whenever I do, I feel like accomplished. You know, it doesn't even have to be a big thing. And while I've been working today, I've been thinking about, so many different things, finding purpose, how the individual has to create their own purpose. And I just wanted to go over a couple ideas. I'm a little short of breath, but so many thoughts on my mind, I don't want to miss them, That's why I do this. So, I was in there and I was working on this. I bought this badass vintage light, and it's got this big glass piece with this wrought iron, it's a huge chandelier piece. I went and bought it, found it at the Rebuilding Center. It just came in recently, a couple days ago. And for a really good price. So I was hanging it up and I was trying to do it hokey because I didn't have the right gear temporarily, and it fell and just exploded. The glass broke everywhere in the kitchen. And through the whole process, I sat there and I applied what I'd learned about being calm, using deep breath, clean it up. Didn't say a word, My wife and kid are sitting there. My kid's just like, he's 2-year-old, he's like, "Papa sad?" No, not sad. A little frustrated maybe, but as I do these things, I find these, I guess what I'm saying is I have these particular things that I do, which I've learned, which I've practiced, which I've put into practice. And what I've found is that when you have to practice these things for years in order for them to become second nature, to deal with it, you're still going to get frustrated when things happen. It's just how it is. But you can lessen that frustration and take it as a lesson. So I started thinking about various practices. I guess if I practice anything, it's more of a kind of a Buddhist or Eastern philosophy. I don't like to associate with Buddhism, but that kind of, I would call it more of a Zen approach to life. That everything's just kind of whatever it is, And maybe that's just kind of taking everything too lightly. But for me, that's what keeps me happy. And that's what, my purpose is fulfilled by merely existing. But at the same time, everybody wants to leave something, leave an impact. Some people want to live a humble life and maybe not leave anything, and that's their choice. For me, I would like to say that I've done something, important in my life. I might be able to justify by saying, well, I raised two or three kids, and 3 kids are that's a lot of work. So, I produced something, but that doesn't count. I'm talking about personal purpose, something that can't be taken away from the individual when the kids move out or whatnot. So, for me, working is a very rewarding thing, even if it's a small task. And I've learned to embrace that and try to find a thing to do each day. But I guess what I really wanted to get across was I wanted to talk about belief systems and how people take a certain belief system, let's say, and practice it for a long period of time, let's say a decade or two, and then they want other people to embrace this way of being. And it's difficult to convey the message because one person spent a lot of time in one belief system, and say one's a Buddhist and one's a Muslim, and they have very similar ideas, very similar philosophies, yet they have that barrier of dogma, and the Buddhist doesn't so much care. He's like, that's cool, you're welcome to, join in my festivities, but the Muslim says, no, you're not of the same religion. Of course, there are varying degrees of tolerance. What I want to convey is the idea that when a person says, this is the way to live, this is the way to be, a person has to practice it for a long period of time. So either a person has to go into every religion or every way of, thinking and practice each one of those individually for a long period of time in order to gain enough insight, or they have to pick one and just say, this is the way it is. Or they could pick one and say, this is the way for me. I guess what the main thing that I found is that whatever practice works for the person is fine, just so long as they understand that other practices work for the other people, if that makes sense. when people use things like totems and talismans, symbolism, they have their little, their puja tables or their candles and all this stuff. These things are all symbols that have power through the use of the symbol, just like the use of a word or a chant or a particular saying or prayer. This is why people do it. Doing this over a period of time builds that energy and allows a person to, I don't know. It's hard for me to say because it's coming from a person who gets a little bit from each bit but haven't figured out if there's one particular path. The one particular problem I have with any one path is that I'm afraid of stepping too deep into one belief or idea, because if you do, I've seen how easily you get pulled in. You can get totally sucked into it and your brain starts thinking this is the truth and this is the way it is. And I guess the reason why I have caution is because it's happened to me through so many different ways of thinking, so many different things that I've heard and said, oh my gosh, is that true? And I start doing some research and find it is true. But then if I research opposing views, then I start to find, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not so true. A lot of people have come forward with a lot of ideas and there's a lot of stuff to wade through. And so, is there any one path that's better than another? This I don't know. I think that it's a matter of just having a particular practice that you put into practice. So this practice, does this mean chanting? Like people who put down meditation, or not that that's a big thing, putting down meditation, but people saying, oh, well, it doesn't really work for me, or I don't have the time, but how many times have you put it into practice? Personally, I don't meditate nearly enough, a couple times a year, And I've learned that I can't use that excuse of saying, oh, well, I meditate when I'm working, or I meditate while I'm doing this or that. No, meditation is a complete clearing of the mind, and that's difficult to do. But if you meditate, people say if you meditate daily, for at least half an hour a day, you'll reach these particular states. How can anyone deny that unless they've done it? I can't. So I guess I have to try it, right? So in a nutshell, I guess what I'm saying is that we can't really say one thing is truer than another if we haven't tried it, if it's in that realm of, belief or faith or, something that hasn't been scientifically proven, conclusive. I think what it is the person, as long as they're looking for something deeper and trying to seek something deeper, things will be revealed to them, I guess, if that makes sense. And this has been found to be true for me, personally. The more I dig into a particular subject, the more these things and ideas are revealed to me in ways that are beyond chance. And that's what makes me realize no matter which idea I choose, they all have their benefits and their drawbacks, too. Every one. So, I guess I'll leave it at that. Take care.